X-Men was directed by Bryan Singer and starred a cast that went on to prove extremely successful in a gigantic franchise that a lot of people have loved for many years. And since Logan is coming out in March and it is the final Hugh Jackman portrayal of Wolverine, so he says, I decided it'd be the perfect time to fill in the gaps to the X-Men movies I haven't reviewed, and those movies are X-Men 1, 2, 3, and Origins. Oh boy. But we're not quite there yet. We're still talking about some respectable X-Men films here. This one came out, as I said, in the year 2000 and was very influential in regards to the early 2000s superhero scene. Because at this time, we had really only had Batman and Superman in big movies before, at least that had worked, except for the first Blade, which I really like. This was that film where people went, wow, this could be a thing. Like, superhero movies could really prosper and not just make money, but be good. One of the reasons that this first X-Men movie works so well is Bryan Singer and the writers, they understood what makes the characters in the comics work. It's not just about mutant powers and action scenes and really amazing special effects. X-Men is about prejudice, it's about fear, it's about discrimination. And this film portrays that extremely well, as we have a world in which people are very frightened by mutants. We have politicians who are trying to make it legal that mutants have to register themselves, make themselves public, make it known what they can do, because mankind's afraid of them. So this movie not only has amazing action sequences and a lot of fun, cool comic book stuff, it's a very mature tale about discrimination and fear. And that's one of the things that works so well about this first X-Men movie. And I'm so glad they maintained that in this film, because if you've seen like the 90s Fantastic Four, or even the 2000s Fantastic Four, or fuck it, Fant Four Stick, or Superman 3, or Superman 4, or Batman Forever, or Batman and Robin, you know that superhero movies can make the mistake of just thinking that all they have to do is be a superhero movie. All people want to see are cool costumes and special effects when they go to these films, right? Comic books are just dumb. The only people who like comic books are idiots, right? Wrong. No, I mean, comics have a lot of depth, and if you ever take the time to read any of the X-Men comics, which I have, you're going to see a lot of that present in those books, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so glad they maintained that more mature level of depth throughout this film, and the next one in particular. Another thing they got so right was the casting. We can look back now after seeing so many films with these characters and really praise this first movie for casting Patrick Stewart as Professor X. That's perfect casting. Ian McKellen as Magneto, fantastic. But let's talk about one specific person in particular, and it happens to be my favorite actor portraying a comic book character ever, and that is, of course, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Jackman is still portraying the exact same character 17 years later, and nobody is asking for him to quit. That's how good he was in this first movie and the ones that followed. His introduction in this movie, where Rogue finds him in this dive and everyone's challenging him to a fight and he's able to win money and actually support himself just by kicking ass. It's so perfect. It's such a great introduction to that character, and he really proved his naysayers wrong, because going into this film, Hugh Jackman had a lot of hate. Similar to Daniel Craig when he got the role of Bond, a lot of people were like, no! We know it worked now, but I remember back in the early 2000s when I first saw this movie, I actually rented the VHS tape from the library. I didn't see it in theaters. And I sat down with this movie and I was just blown away. I was blown away, because at that time I was really into the X-Men cartoon, and seeing all of these characters portrayed so well was just such a breath of fresh air from the normal superhero stuff I was used to at that time. I keep having to reiterate, at that time, I was like Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. That's where we're at here. You know, Steel with Shaquille O'Neal. This movie changed the game. But what I think this movie doesn't get enough credit for is the direction. Bryan Singer has a lot of really great sequences in this movie, and almost every scene has a lot of energy within every shot. He always tries to keep the camera moving or make it interesting. He makes his edits not too fast, but not too quick either. The sequence in which Wolverine is discovering the school for the first time and he's running around the corridors hearing Professor X in his mind is really thrilling. It was also wise to make the audience follow Rogue at first, portrayed by Anna Paquin, because her character is the most naive in this entire film. We see her discover her mutation when she reaches puberty, and the pure horror in her face when she discovers that she can't touch anyone without essentially killing them. But the audience is introduced to this world through her because she discovers things, she wants to ask questions, and so we as the audience want to ask questions too, especially if you're not initiated with the X-Men comics. So it was smart to start with her character. So like I said, they got the casting right, they got the themes of X-Men right. Did they get the action right? Yeah, this movie's badass. Mystique versus Wolverine. The entire finale is very thrilling, and it's not just because the action sequences are cool, it's because we understand what's at stake. We understand how Magneto feels about humankind. We understand how Professor X feels, and how humankind feels. So since we understand where everyone's brain is at, it makes the action a lot more fun. It's not just Wolverine slicing and dicing, it's thematically interesting, and that's one of the best things about X-Men. I'm gonna give X-Men an A. I actually think this first film is very underrated. I don't think it gets the respect it deserves, especially now when you look at, like, you know, Civil War and everything, and people go back and watch X-Men maybe for the first time, they're like, whatever. In the year 2000, I must reiterate, this movie changed the game. So guys, thanks so much for watching my review of X-Men. I'm coming up very soon with X-Men 2, X-Men United, which is apparently what it's called, despite the fact that that's never actually shown in the movie. It's kind of just X2, but, you know, whatever. Logan's coming out soon. I can't wait to talk about X-Men with you guys. Thank you so much as always for watching, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.